Today we're diving into a story that truly captures that dilemma. This is a tale about the struggle to become an adult, not with magic or superpowers, but by facing life's harsh realities. Our journey begins in the middle of a busy city, where a young man in a red jacket stands tall, as if he's the only one who knows his destination. This is War of the Adults. Our scene shifts to a quiet street in front of a school. There, a young man named Yutaro, with a stoic face but sharp eyes, approaches a middle-aged man who's smoking. Yutaro's hand is raised, as if he's about to do something dramatic. With a firm voice, he says, "Please stop smoking. This is a school zone." But the man just responds with a condescending smirk. He blows out a puff of smoke and says, "Geez, a brat like you just doesn't understand. Adults like me are tired from work, you know." Yutaro's expression instantly changes. He stares at the man with a killer look, as if the word adult itself is an insult. As the man continues his rant, Yutaro makes his move. He grabs the man's hand, pinching the cigarette between his fingers. The man is shocked, trying to fight back, but Yutaro's grip is too strong. The cigarette falls to the ground, is crushed, and is destroyed. "That hurts," the man yells in pain. But Yutaro doesn't care. He stares intensely, demanding an answer. "What makes you an adult, HUH?" The atmosphere is heating up. This is no longer just a reprimand. It's a battle of ideologies between a high school student yearning for adulthood and a man using his age as an excuse for his arrogance. Suddenly, a woman appears from a distance, pulling Yutaro away. "Let's go. People are watching," she says urgently. Yutaro, who was just filled with rage, immediately remembers his promise. His expression instantly turns to one of regret. He looks back, sees the man walking away, and a sense of shame washes over him. "Damn it, I almost got in another fight," he mutters bitterly. "I promised Mom my delinquent days were over." His body trembles, and he holds his bag tightly, as if trying to hold back the emotional explosion ready to burst out. He hates this reactive side of himself. He doesn't want to be a delinquent anymore. Yutaro reflects. He remembers his promises to change. "I'm going to graduate from delinquency and become a proper adult," he vows to himself. Suddenly, he pulls a small book from his bag. It's labeled Top Secret and Articles of Adulthood. This book seems to be his personal guide to becoming an ideal adult. He takes a pocket ashtray from inside his bag. "I still carry this ashtray, even though I quit smoking," he whispers. "Then again, it's just for times like these. You could even call it a good deed." He drops the crushed cigarette into the ashtray, trying to convince himself that his action wasn't an act of delinquency, but a step towards adulthood. Yutaro opens his Articles of Adulthood book. He writes a new rule. Don't do bad things, even when no one is watching, especially smoking. He crosses out the words with a pen, as if he's writing a sacred oath. "I'll become a proper adult for sure," he says with conviction. He flips a page, and on the first page, there's another rule: don't get in fights. In total, he's written 38 rules. "Pretty good stuff, I'd say," he mumbles. He ponders. Can this really make me an adult? For me, the ideal adult was my dad. A flashback appears in his mind. Yutaro remembers his father. He says, "I never saw my dad bow his head to anyone, ever, except once." The flashback shows a painful scene. His father standing in front of a police car, bowing his head deeply before two officers. His face is filled with shame and defeat. One of the officers asks, "Why did you fight, Yutaro?" The question was directed at him, not his father. So, did this mean his father bowed his head because of Yutaro's mistake? This memory is so strong, so painful, and clearly a turning point in his life. Yutaro remembers his conversation with his father after that incident. His father gave him profound advice. Yutaro recalls how his father had to bow his head because of him, and how even his pride was shaken. Fighting over something like that is what children do, Yutaro thinks. His father looked at him seriously, then smiled faintly. "Yutaro," he said, "time won't do it for you. Fight for your adulthood." These words are etched in Yutaro's mind, changing his view of what it means to be a true adult. 6 months after that incident, his father passed away. Yutaro walks alone, his mind filled with memories. "My dad passed away 6 months later." Yutaro's narration appears on the panel. "I was just a clueless kid. My dad always pushed himself. I didn't even know the factory was in debt. He remembers how heavy the burden his father carried was. I don't mind being poor or stupid. The more important thing is, he stops in the middle of the street. He looks at his hands, then stares ahead with a look of deep doubt. I'm 16 now. Can I really become a decent adult in a few years? Yutaro continues his walk. The street that was once busy now feels quiet, with only the soft meows of a cat. Then, a thought crosses his mind. He stares ahead with eyes full of determination, even with a hint of tears in the corner of his eyes. A ruined school bag appears on the screen, floating as if to represent the past delinquency he is now leaving behind. With an unwavering determination that swells in his chest, Yutaro says, I want to become a true adult. And this is where we stop, everyone. A powerful determination has been planted in Yutaro's heart. But the road to adulthood is never easy. Can Yutaro truly leave his past behind and become the adult he dreams of? Don't miss the next episode of War of the Adults. See you in the next recap. In the middle of a deserted street, Yutaro spots the same black cat he met earlier. The cat is standing in the middle of the road, right in the path of a large, fast-approaching truck. Without a second thought, Yutaro, still in his school uniform, runs, bends down, and picks up the cat to save it. Yutaro's eyes are filled with the same determination he had when he confronted the smoker, but this time, for a different reason. He wants to prove that he can do good, that he can be an adult. But what will be the consequence of this heroic act? It all happens so fast. The screen shows an aerial view, highlighting a street intersection. A large truck is seen screeching to a halt. Below it, only a small silhouette lies on the pavement. A loud sound of screeching brakes fills the air. And then, there's only silence. A black screen appears with the text, clack, repeating, as if it's the sound of bones cracking. It's a truly painful sight. A noble, heroic act, leading to a tragic accident. What will happen to Yutaro? Is this the end of his story, even before he had a chance to become an adult? Suddenly, we see a screen that looks like a chat room. Messages pop up quickly, as if the whole world is talking about this event. I'm not lying. Yeah, it did look like his eyelids moved. Yeah, right. LOL. Quit trying to stand out. I think you're up past your bedtime, kid. If it's just his eyeballs moving, maybe he's dreaming. Do vegetables like him dream? Please enlighten me, a wise one. These comments show that Yutaro survived the accident, but he's in a very bad condition. People are calling him a vegetable, and there's doubt as to whether he can ever wake up. This is no longer just an accident. It's become a phenomenon. Then, his eyes open. Yutaro slowly opens his eyes. He looks around, his eyes trying to focus. Above him, there's an IV drip, and he's lying in a hospital bed. Huh? He whispers. Hey, hospital. He tries to remember what happened. A brief flash of the black cat he saved appears in his mind. That's right. I was trying to save a cat. Suddenly, his memory returns fully, and he screams inwardly, H. However, his scream makes no sound. A suffocating silence. After that terrible accident, he's finally conscious again. But where is he? The screen focuses on Yutaro's face. His face is covered with hair and a beard. His gaze is tired and his eyes look sullen. Above his head, a large text appears, 15 years later. Yes, everyone, 15 years. That's not a day, not a month, but a full decade and a half. He's now 30 years old. Yutaro Urashima, age 30. His last name, Urashima, is a clear reference to the folk tale Urashima Taro, a fisherman who returns home after years at the bottom of the sea, only to find a completely different world. Yutaro mutters, I have to get to my part-time job. An incredibly deep irony. He wakes up after 15 years, and the first thing he thinks about is a part-time job. We return to the same chatroom scene, but this time the messages are much more boisterous. He's AAWWWAKKK. One message screams. Breaking news, awake on day 5505. Talk about a long nap. Taro's awake. What a historic moment. Then, a small argument breaks out. His name's not Taro, moron. It's Yutaro. One user retorts. I meant Taro, like the fairy tale about the time-lost Urashima Taro, another replies. Now who's the moron? LOL. This commotion shows how Yutaro has become a viral phenomenon. His tragic story is now a headline that everyone is talking about. He has become a symbol, but he himself is still trapped in a confusing reality. Suddenly, we see Yutaro, now with neat hair and a shaved face, sitting in a wheelchair. A woman, with a face similar to his, is shaving his beard. The year 2025 is displayed on the screen, above the hospital building. Yutaro groans, "Ouch!" and the woman replies, "Sorry, Yutaro." This woman is his mother. She looks much older. Yutaro, who has woken up from a coma, now has to face the reality that he is no longer in the year 2010. The world has moved on without him. His mother cuts his hair, saying, "Okay, next up is your hair." Yutaro panics. "Wait, it's fine. I'll go to the barber." His mother smiles. "It's fine. Don't worry. Just stay still." Yutaro looks down, his eyes filled with questions. Mom?" He sees his reflection in the window and asks his mother with a tone full of doubt, "Have I really been asleep for 15 years? His mother nods. "That's right." Yutaro still can't believe it. "No, I can't," he whispers. "Imagine everyone. He went to sleep as a 16-year-old teenager and woke up as a 30-year-old man. What did he dream about for 15 years? Yutaro is still in his wheelchair. He says to his mother, "Plus, there's this whole Reiwa era thing. Doesn't it sound weird?" Yutaro, who was last conscious in the Heisei era, is now confused by this new era. Meanwhile, outside the hospital window, a giant billboard is displayed with the text 2025. Yutaro looks at it and mutters, 2025? Is this science fiction? His mother, who was smiling, now responds firmly, "Don't say things like that. How would the person who came up with the era's name feel?" Yutaro looks at her in confusion. That's what you're worried about." Their exchange shows the vast difference between the world Yutaro left behind and the world he's entering. He didn't just wake up from a coma, he woke up in the future. Yutaro looks down. "Sorry, Mom." His mother smiles and says, "Now then, maybe I'll peel some apples." However, Yutaro can't stop thinking about it. He looks at his wheelchair, then mutters, "If it meant being asleep for 15 years, it'd be better if I had died." His words are incredibly painful. He feels that his life was in vain, and he has become a burden. His mother is shocked. Yutaro continues, "Living needlessly for 15 years, the hospital bills must have been tough." His mother interrupts, "It's okay. We used crowdfunding." Yutaro is shocked. Crowdfunding. His mother explains that they didn't have much money to begin with, so they had to rely on public donations. Now Yutaro not only has to face the reality that he lost 15 years of his life, but also that he has become a burden to others, and that may be the heaviest burden of all. Yutaro is still in shock when his mother says the word crowdfunding. He watches her play with her phone, and to his surprise, he sees what's on the screen. Photos of him lying in a hospital bed are displayed, accompanied by viral titles that attract donations. "That's the reward for high donations, you see," his mother says, smiling widely. "What the hell is this?" A 50,000 yen donation gets a commemorative photo with Yutaro. Yutaro screams in his mind, his face red. There's even a message from a little boy who says, "I want to be a true adult like Yutaro when I grow up." Ironic, isn't it? Yutaro, who wants to become an adult, has become an inspiration for children. His mother, who was once naive, now looks more modern. She explains that technology has made fundraising easier. Yutaro feels confused. The world he left behind 15 years ago has changed so much. "It's overwhelming to hear everything at once, isn't it?" his mother asks, smiling gently. Yutaro watches her peel an apple, and his mother continues in a serious tone. "What I wanted to say is, you've been kept alive by the will of many people." Those words calm Yutaro's heart. That's a testament to how much good you've done. His mother offers him a peeled apple slice. Yutaro looks at the apple slice and remembers a scene. On a quiet night, under the moonlight, a rotten apple lies in the street. Is it a symbol of his past? Or a metaphor for his fate? We see Yutaro sitting in his bed, reading old articles. Even small articles like this. "Mom really saved everything," he mutters. He sees a news headline with the title, "The Tragedy of a Kind-Hearted Boy." Yutaro reads the news about himself and the donors. He finds a photo of a man he recognizes. "I see. This is the person who called the ambulance." He is surprised to see another news story featuring a photo of the man with the cat he saved, with the title, "The Salaryman Who Saved the Boy That Saved the Cat." The man's name is Isamu Kuroda, and he adopted the cat. Yutaro smiles. What a good person. Yutaro, who was previously feeling hopeless, now feels a little relieved. He is not alone. His good deed turned out to have a positive impact, even 15 years later. Yutaro continues to read other news. A quote from Isamu Kuroda is clearly displayed in the newspaper. I merely called the ambulance. That pales in comparison to how he sacrificed his body for the sake of a tiny life. And that young man is the real hero. Yutaro, who thought his actions were in vain, now sees that others consider him a hero. He sits in his hospital room, staring at the silence of the room. He looks up at the ceiling and thinks, Dad, I did the right thing, didn't I? The question hangs in the air. He wants to know if the sacrifice he made 15 years ago, which caused him to lose all his dreams, was a truly noble thing. Yutaro, now tidy and casually dressed, says goodbye to his mother. All right, I'm off to work, his mother quickly reminds him. But since you're recovering, absolutely no going outside, okay? Yutaro replies casually. I get it. Have a good day. Yutaro opens the door and gets ready to leave, but his mother looks at him sharply and says, Think carefully about the future. Your health comes first. Yutaro nods. All right, and turns with a cheerful step. However, as he steps outside, his face becomes sullen again. Behind his cheerfulness, there is a deep sense of weariness. He is still not ready to face the outside world. Yutaro returns to his apartment. There, in front of the desk, is a poster with the big words, I will be an adult. Yutaro Urashima. Yutaro looks at the poster and mutters, Today my path toward true adulthood begins anew. However, he suddenly remembers his Articles of Adulthood book. Speaking of which, where did my Articles of Adulthood go? He searches and doesn't find it. Did I drop it during the accident? Oh well. This is another irony. The guide to becoming an adult that he wrote with great difficulty has been lost. He now has to find his own way. Yutaro sits at his desk, full of calculations. My education stopped at middle school, he thinks. It will take time to gain enough knowledge for a high school equivalency exam. He sighs. 30-year-old, unemployed. Anxiety returns to him. He holds his head and says, Stop thinking so logically. He tries to calm himself down. I can only do what I can, one step at a time. He looks at his old school bag and remembers something. If I go too fast, I'll just end up spinning my wheels. He looks at the kitchen. Maybe I'll cook dinner? I've been a burden on Mom for 15 years. He again thinks about his debt of gratitude. Yutaro decides to cook. He starts cutting ingredients, feeling a new purpose. And as a secret ingredient, he opens a kitchen drawer. Oh, there's no honey. He sighs. Well, nothing I can do. Then he remembers. That figures. Mom doesn't eat much bread. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. Ding dong. Yutaro is surprised and a little nervous. Coming, he shouts. Who is it? This is the first moment he will interact with the outside world. Yutaro opens the door, and there stands a middle-aged woman. Oh, it's your neighbor, Kudo, remember me? She says with a warm smile. I heard you've been discharged. Yutaro is shocked. Oh, thank you. The woman hands him a bag of fruit. What? You didn't have to. Yutaro tries to refuse. Here, to celebrate. The woman smiles sincerely. I'm really glad. You must be going through a lot of anxiety, but I'm rooting for you. Yutaro smiles, right. In his eyes, there is surprise and relief. It turns out that the good deed he did 15 years ago is still remembered by people. Yutaro and his mother receive the fruit from Mrs. Kudo. Mrs. Kudo smiles while gently pinching Yutaro's cheek. Hang in there. Yutaro smiles and replies, I will, thanks. In the kitchen, Yutaro looks at the fruit. He peels an apple, just like his mother did at the hospital. This is a lot. I feel bad. He mutters. I'll have to return the favor sometime. Yutaro looks at the fruit his neighbor gave him. He feels this is not just a gift. This is hope. This is proof that he is not alone. Yutaro's journey to becoming an adult has just begun, and he now has a new motivation: to repay the kindness of the people who have helped him all this time. Yutaro is still in shock when the doorbell rings, but when he returns to the kitchen, he finds a bottle of honey he was looking for. Honey, he mutters, his eyes wide. He recalls his conversation with his neighbor, Mrs. Kudo, who gave him fruit. Perfect timing, he says, nodding. He smiles. But suddenly, his eyes widen in panic. Ah, oh man, I left the stove on. His scattered thoughts show how much he is still struggling with this new reality. The kindness of others gives him a boost, but the struggle to adapt remains a heavy burden. Yutaro finally works up the courage to leave the house and go somewhere. We see a view of Tokyo that is very different from his memories. I haven't seen Tokyo in 15 years, he thinks. He looks around, astonished to see unfamiliar buildings, advanced cars, and what stuns him the most, everyone is engrossed in their phones. Look at all those smartphones. Everyone has one, he mutters. 15 years ago, he remembers everyone was so excited when the first smartphone came to Japan. Now, it has become a part of their lives. Yutaro feels like an alien. Yutaro continues his journey, and his confusion deepens. He looks around and sees robots serving customers at a restaurant, a truly strange sight for him. Robots serving customers? For real, Raiwa, he mutters. He even wonders, likes, do you get something good if you collect them? He feels like he's in a real-life fairy tale. His goal is to find a part-time job, but he wonders, is there a part-time job even I can do? He feels like he doesn't understand current trends at all. As Yutaro walks, he sees a woman with a veil and sunglasses, and then a man with a white jacket and a strange hairstyle. Suddenly, the man asks Yutaro something. Can I help? He says. Yutaro is surprised, but the man is just offering to help him carry his things. Oh, that's very kind of you, Yutaro mutters. The man makes an okay gesture with his fingers, which looks modern and cool. In the next panel, Yutaro mimics the gesture with a small smile on his face, and he sees others doing the same. Yutaro feels a little connected to this new world. A circle? What does that gesture mean? Yutaro thinks. He doesn't understand it. He sees the same gesture made by the man who helped him and also another man he saw earlier. Come to think of it, my neighbor did it too. He mutters. I really don't get the trends, huh? He sighs. Finally, he arrives at a cafe. He asks about a part-time job, but the manager is not there. Even though he's rejected, Yutaro doesn't give up. Yutaro has been rejected 5 times in a row. That's 5 rejections in a row, he thinks. He looks around the crowded cafe. Suddenly, a long-haired waitress approaches him. Are you, by any chance, the legendary Taro? She asks carefully. Yutaro is surprised and confused. Huh? He asks back. Have we met somewhere? The woman smiles shyly and says, no, you're the famous Urashima. That's all. The woman is very pretty, and Yutaro's heart flutters. She looks so young, though. She must have heard the news about 15 years ago, Yutaro thinks, realizing he is not alone in facing change. The woman returns to Yutaro. So, you're looking for a part-time job? Yutaro nods. Yeah, but it's not going well at all. He explains that this is his 5th attempt. Mr. Urashima, you've really got it hard, the woman says. Yutaro looks at her. But then, why are you in such a hurry? The woman asks. You could take things a bit slower. Yutaro considers her words. Adults can drink coffee that tastes so easily. He mutters. No, it's not that bad. He thinks back. He doesn't have time to relax. Because I made a promise. He says, his eyes filled with determination. A promise to become a complete adult. Yutaro sees the reflection of his father's face in his coffee cup. Time alone won't do it for me. I have to fight for my adulthood. He remembers his father's words. That's what my father told me, he mutters. He sips his coffee, and it tastes bitter. So, I have to grow up now. He says to himself. Thanks for the coffee, he says to the woman. He feels he has a new mission. This encounter gives him the courage to move forward. The woman smiles sweetly. I'm so happy. Yutaro is surprised. Huh? The woman holds his hands. To know that you share the same aspiration fills me with courage, she says. She explains, just going to college won't make me an adult, so I'm working part-time. The woman truly understands Yutaro's struggle. I feel the same way, Yutaro says, his hands holding hers tightly. By the way, my name is Misato, she says, smiling. Please come again if you get a chance. I'll put in a good word with the manager. Yutaro is genuinely surprised and happy. He not only gets a job opportunity, but he also meets someone who shares the same determination. Yutaro and Misato look at each other. Yutaro, with a face full of confidence, makes the okay gesture he just learned, and says, let's aim to be cool adults together. Misato smiles, right. Yutaro looks around the bustling city, full of busy people. Outside the cafe, another man also makes the okay gesture while chatting. Yutaro realizes that he is not the only one struggling in this world. He has a friend, and he has a purpose. His journey to becoming a true adult has just begun, and he will not give up. Yutaro lies in bed, thinking about the woman he just met at the cafe. Misato, huh? He whispers to himself. He debates what to call her, Ms. Misato, or Misato, or something else, but ultimately decides on Misato due to the age difference. He thinks about how she understands his struggle to become an adult, and how she's trying to do the same. Yutaro is back in his room, looking at the "I will be an adult" poster on his wall. He reflects on his meeting with Misato. If I could work with a nice, cute girl like her, that alone would make survival worth it. He's inspired, thinking that because Misato also wants to become a proper adult, they could do it together. These encounters really do happen, he thinks. The scene shifts dramatically to a shot of Misato, now naked and kneeling on a bed. "Shall we become adults together?" she says with a mysterious look on her face. The tone of the manga changes completely, hinting at a darker side to Misato and her intentions. Yutaro is startled by a loud noise and jumps out of bed. "Not that way," his mother shouts. He realizes it's just his mother on the phone, and she apologizes for shouting. "Mr. Kuroda called," she exclaims, her face excited. Yutaro is surprised to hear the name of the man who saved his life, the salaryman who saved the boy who saved the cat. Yutaro's mother is ecstatic about the call from Mr. Kuroda, saying he knows Yutaro is awake and wants to meet him. Yutaro is equally excited, saying he wants to thank him in person. His mother quickly begins giving him advice. "What should I bring as a gift? And it'd be rude to bring something cheap." Yutaro, now outside, wonders why Mr. Kuroda is so important. He stops in front of a poster and realizes it's Mr. Kuroda. The poster says, "A vote for true fairness," and features his name, Isamu Kuroda. The image of him with the cat is a political poster, not just a news story. Yutaro sees more posters of Mr. Kuroda and other political parties with strange names, realizing he is now a national politician. He is shocked that his simple act of kindness has had such a massive impact, to the point of turning someone into a politician. Yutaro arrives at a high-end restaurant, completely out of his element. Yutaro meets a well-dressed Mr. Kuroda, who is now a minister. Yutaro shakes his hand and tries to thank him, but Mr. Kuroda says, "Actually, I'm the one who should say that." Mr. Kuroda explains, "Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today." Yutaro has a gift for him, and Mr. Kuroda asks if he should call him Mr. Urashima now. Mr. Kuroda shows Yutaro something, his old Articles of Adulthood notebook. He explains that he found it the day he saved Yutaro and never got a chance to return it. Mr. Kuroda refers to the notebook as his Bible, saying that finding it was the moment he began to question what it meant to be a true adult. He also says, people should not be judged by education or income, but rather by their virtuous behavior. Yutaro is moved by Mr. Kuroda's words and feels like a true Taro, like the mythical tale of Urashima Taro who returns to a changed world. Mr. Kuroda tells him, "You're the one who changed this country." The episode ends on this powerful note, with Yutaro realizing his one act of kindness has created a ripple effect, changing not just his life, but an entire nation. Yutaro is surprised to hear Mr. Kuroda say that Yutaro changed the country. Mr. Kuroda explains that the Save the Cat Party was named after Yutaro, the boy who saved a cat. Yutaro is overwhelmed, muttering that he just acted without thinking, and it was pure coincidence he ended up on TV. Mr. Kuroda acknowledges this, but calls it luck that he received support from so many people. Mr. Kuroda explains that Yutaro's action reminded him that there are many virtuous people whose good deeds go unnoticed. He then says, "You are indeed the genuine article. You embody my philosophy." He claps slowly, and Yutaro is left speechless. The scene cuts to a black panel with the question, "But what if such things no longer went unnoticed?" Yutaro asks Mr. Kuroda what he means by that. Mr. Kuroda explains that his philosophy is, what if we could make sure minor good deeds, too small for TV, did not go unseen? The sound of clapping hands from the panels before is still present, building tension. Mr. Kuroda holds up Yutaro's old Articles of Adulthood notebook. He reads an entry, Article 38. Don't do bad things, even when no one is watching, especially smoking. He explains his concept. Even commonplace misdeeds, not worth police pursuit, could be called out. He also mentions, or even while showing your human side by longing after a beautiful woman. Yutaro is confused and disturbed by Mr. Kuroda's words, asking what he is talking about. Mr. Kuroda casually talks about the honey curry Yutaro's mother made. Yutaro's eye widens as Mr. Kuroda makes the okay gesture, and we see a camera's lens inside the circle of his hand. Mr. Kuroda's face becomes sinister as he asks, what if everyone's actions were shared with everyone, everywhere, at all times, and never went unnoticed? He reveals this was a thought he had 15 years ago. The panels below show other people making the same okay gesture, hinting at a hidden surveillance network. The scene reveals a broadcast of Yutaro's life. He is live-streamed, with people commenting on his every move. We see comments like, he noticed, and, I watch you all the time. Yutaro is unaware, simply going about his day. The screen shows the title, Yutaro Urashima Live, and we see comments from Misato, saying, it's too soon. Him finding out now spoils the fun. Mr. Kuroda holds up a phone, showing Yutaro's live feed. He explains that this is the newly established Ministry for Promotion of a Ratings-Based Economy, also known as the Ratings Ministry. He reveals that this ministry created a national social media platform called Garden, where people can observe whoever they like, whenever they like, and rate one another. Every Japanese citizen holds an account. Yutaro is horrified to learn that there are over 20 million observation cameras in Tokyo alone, in every commercial facility, school, hospital, and even back alleys. The fact that people would lose their ratings if they didn't review others proved to be an effective motivator. Yutaro looks around, his face pale with fear, realizing that the okay gesture he learned was a symbol of this constant surveillance. Yutaro's world is turned upside down. The modern society he saw as strange is now revealed to be a totalitarian surveillance state, and his luck was not luck at all. It was a planned event orchestrated by Mr. Kuroda. The war to become an adult has now become a fight against a system that judges and rates every single person. Yutaro's face pales in horror as he hears the chilling truth from Mr. Kuroda. The okay gesture he saw everywhere isn't a friendly trend. It's a sign of a massive surveillance network. The ratings ministry has cameras everywhere, and every person is constantly watched and rated by others. Yutaro is speechless, trembling with fear. He realizes his life isn't his own. It's a reality show for the public. I can't breathe. He gasps. Mr. Kuroda, seeing his panic, calmly says, your rating has shot up thanks to that look of terror on your face. Try to act even more terrified. Mr. Kuroda continues. The people watching at home are all thinking, so he can show a face other than that of a saint. He explains that Yutaro's good deeds rating has become so high that the public craves to see a more human side of him, his flaws. He hands Yutaro a card. Now, then, this is your ID card for the Ministry of Ratings Promotion. The card's design features the OK symbol. He then offers Yutaro a job. You're a public symbol, so why not a full-time employee? The ratings ministry will provide for you from now on. Yutaro, horrified, refuses. I don't need charity, he shouts. I'll make money with my own hands. Mr. Kuroda's smile fades as he leans in close. You think you can? He says menacingly. Your rating is tied to your credit score, remember? Right now, your rating is extremely high, but if you don't do what the public wants, you'll be buried in negative ratings and lose everything. He shows Yutaro a graph on his phone, his rating skyrocketing with his act of bravery, followed by a long, flat line during his coma. Mr. Kuroda explains, when the public doesn't know anything about you, your rating remains at 0. But now that he's awake, he's subject to the rating system. Mr. Kuroda's face contorts into a twisted grin as he holds up the phone, showing a live stream of Yutaro's scared face. The viewers just can't get enough of it. The scene opens with a bizarre and unsettling sight. Lying on a table are 3 small, eerie cameras that look just like eyeballs. The main character, Yutaro Urashima, is visibly shocked. He turns to his mother and asks, "What's all this, Mom? Why are there garden cameras inside our house?" His mother stands there, looking anxious and resigned, telling him not to ask so many questions. Right away, The tension is palpable. The mother tries to reassure Yutaro, but her smile is hollow. "It's safer if someone is always watching, isn't it?" she says, as if she's already accepted this new reality. Yutaro is immediately suspicious. "Safer? What do you mean?" he demands. But before he can protest further, his mother begins to explain the more unsettling reason behind the cameras. With a look of deep regret, Yutaro's mother explains that these cameras, known as garden, have saved countless lives. She shows him flashbacks of horrific cases, children left in hot cars, and elderly people collapsing at home. Garden detects these things and automatically calls for help, she says. It exists for our protection. But Yutaro isn't convinced. He looks panicked and rushes out of the house, unable to accept her reasoning. Now on a crowded train, Yutaro is consumed by anxiety. He looks around, and all he sees are people glued to their phones, connected to the garden platform. He scrolls through various content, live streams, funny videos, and clips of good deeds. A chilling question runs through his mind. Protection? Could that really be true? His doubts are growing, and his fear is mounting. On the train, Yutaro overhears two high school girls talking about garden. One of them says that her sister used to deal with molesters on the train, but now there aren't any because the garden cameras are everywhere. "Garden is so awesome, right?" she says cheerfully. The two of them then spontaneously give up their seat to an elderly man, a seemingly kind gesture that feels more like a performance for the public. We get a closer look at the true effects of the garden system. One of the girls proudly shows off a pin on her uniform. "I just became a Tier 8 adult the other day," she announces. The cameras are everywhere, in every corner of the station, recording their every move. We even see a sign for adults-only train cars. It's clear that garden isn't just about safety. It's about a new social hierarchy determined by the good deeds captured by the cameras. Yutaro arrives at a cafe called Black Cat Cafe for a part-time job interview. He's nervous, but also hopeful. The middle-aged cafe owner greets him, already knowing his name. "You must be Yutaro Urashima," he says. Of course he does. In this new world, everyone's profile is on garden for all to see. The interview takes a strange turn. When Yutaro hands over his resume, the owner just laughs. "I haven't seen one of these in ages," he says. "Papers like this are meaningless now. Garden tells us everything we need to know." The owner then reveals that he's a supporter of Minister Kuroda, the politician behind the garden project. Yutaro realizes this job interview isn't about his skills or qualifications, but about his good deed score on the garden platform. The cafe owner then takes Yutaro out to dinner. He seems proud and arrogant, as if he's already accepted Yutaro into his inner circle. "As I said, you've changed society," he says smugly. He's convinced that in time, Yutaro will come to see how truly great garden is. And here's the final blow. After the bizarre, short interview, the cafe owner simply says, "You're hired." Yutaro is shocked and overjoyed. He immediately texts his friends. Job hunting didn't take long. LOL. But one friend replies with a chilling message. "You're so lucky it makes me sick." The owner's wide smile looks less like joy and more like a sinister grin. It's clear that this system, which records every movement and determines a person's fate, is far more terrifying than it seems. We return to Yutaro, who is now inside the cafe where he's just started his new job. He's still filled with doubt and confusion. His mind races with questions like, is this really the right thing to do? Is garden truly a good thing? He feels uneasy, knowing he got this job not because of his skills, but because of the garden system. It's like he's a stranger in a strange land, where every action is exposed and his fate is determined by a score. A female coworker named Misato notices Yutaro's unease. With a kind smile, she approaches him and says, "You're feeling uneasy, aren't you?" She understands his anxiety, explaining that he must feel like he's just woken up after 15 years, with everything having changed so drastically. She tries to calm him down, reassuring him that he can adjust, one step at a time. And with a sincere smile, she says, "Let's become cool adults together, okay?" Yutaro is instantly captivated, thinking of her as an angel. Misato shows her kindness by guiding Yutaro, telling him not to be so stiff. Yutaro is grateful. But suddenly, the doorbell chimes. Naturally, Yutaro, as the new employee, rushes to greet the customer, but he doesn't know the rules here. "Welcome," he says enthusiastically. But Misato immediately cuts him off, saying, "This isn't that kind of cafe." As Yutaro greets the customer, he sees a poster on the wall labeled upper asterisk. He's confused. Misato quickly apologizes to the customer and explains that she'll guide them to the sofas in the back. Another coworker explains that there are different tiers of adults here, and upper-tier adults get the best seats. There's a social hierarchy, even in something as simple as seating at a cafe. Yutaro can't believe what he's hearing. It's not just about being an adult. There are tiers to it too. He questions if it's fair to discriminate against customers like this. His coworker explains that many businesses operate this way now, with some even catering exclusively to upper-tier adults. He adds that, compared to the old days when only attractive people got the best seats, the garden system is much fairer. Suddenly, a man with a strange haircut walks into the cafe, holding his personal camera. Yutaro stares at him, confused. The man greets everyone. "What's up, everyone? It's me, Guppy, your favorite foodie." Misato immediately recognizes him and explains that he's a famous gourmet streamer. He's here to review the Black Cat Cafe. The man, Guppy, immediately turns on his personal garden camera. He addresses the screen, "Ciao, baby," and then walks directly up to Misato, acting overly familiar. "I've been watching you on garden," he says with a creepy smile. Misato, who was so kind just moments ago, now looks visibly uncomfortable and anxious. Guppy's creepy behavior escalates. He points at Misato and says, "I know you love pancakes, my lovely Misato. You recommend them, right?" He even reveals a detailed memory of when she last ate pancakes and who she was with. Misato's face goes pale. She's clearly intimidated and deeply disturbed by his detailed knowledge of her private life. Misato tries to calm Guppy down, who's offended at being called creepy. Guppy casually says, "I was just watching on garden, okay? Nothing wrong with that, is there?" Yutaro is furious. He turns to his boss and asks, "Boss, you know him?" Yutaro has a sudden, terrible realization of who this man is. Yutaro finally explodes with the truth. He didn't become famous for his taste in food. He holds up his phone, showing an article about Guppy's dark reputation for stalking and recording female staff members. He even memorizes their shifts. His coworkers are shocked. Yutaro then shouts, "But isn't that crossing the line? That's creepy as hell." Yutaro has finally come face to face with the ugly underbelly of this fair system, where privacy is no longer a human right. We jump right into the middle of the chaos. Guppy's camera is trained on Misato, and the comment section on his live stream is instantly flooded with vile remarks. Some call her the #1 kitten at the cafe, while others tell viewers to take a good look. Yutaro is furious, staring at Guppy's phone screen and watching as Misato is relentlessly attacked by lecherous comments. Misato herself can only stand there, her head bowed in shame and anger, trying to convince Yutaro that she's used to this kind of thing. Yutaro can't accept this treatment. He wants to confront Guppy directly, but his boss quickly holds him back. With a look of genuine fear, the boss explains that Guppy has a massive following and a bad review from him could destroy their reputation. As long as Guppy posts a review, we have to play nice, he says. Misato, with a forced smile, stops Yutaro and tells him, "Please don't worry about me." She seems resigned, knowing that in this garden-based world, protesting will only lead to more problems. The scene shifts dramatically. Suddenly, the arrogant Guppy bows his head and begins to cry. With tears streaming down his face, he offers a deep apology. He picks up his camera and says, "To everyone watching on garden, I'll drink my coffee quietly and leave." His face is contorted in a mask of fake regret, but Yutaro sees right through it. Guppy is putting on a performance, using his apparent victimhood and the garden platform to manipulate public sentiment. Yutaro looks at Guppy's phone again. The comments have completely turned, siding with Guppy and attacking Misato. "That waitress is so rude," one comment reads. "Poor Guppy." They accuse Misato of being stuck up because she thinks she can do as she likes just because she's cute. Here, Yutaro finally understands the horrific truth of the system. Garden was created to aid the righteous yet powerless. But when you turn that on its head, the weak become the most powerful of all. Yutaro is still shocked and enraged. He whispers to his coworker, "He's clearly a con man. He can't understand why Misato, the victim, is the one being criticized. But Misato just offers a tired, faint smile, as if she knew this would happen. She tells him, if we let it slide, he'll leave eventually. As Yutaro argues with his coworker, the boss comes over and gives him a stern warning. Yutaro, you better not cause any trouble. But Yutaro has reached his breaking point. He looks his boss straight in the eye and says, don't worry. And with a gaze full of resolve, he adds, asterisk, asterisk, I'm an adult. Asterisk, asterisk, he is going to take control of this situation, no matter the risk. Yutaro bravely serves the coffee to Guppy. Guppy takes a dramatic sip, but then his smile disappears. He nudges the coffee cup, acting as if something is terribly wrong with the flavor. He then asks, with a chilling grin, did you change the beans? This is a new, completely unexpected attack. Guppy launches into a pompous, know-it-all monologue about coffee. If I remember correctly, this cafe uses Guatemalan beans from the Antigua region, he boasts. They should have the flavor of rich, bittersweet chocolate, but this is awfully acidic. He then points at Misato. But Yutaro isn't having any of it. He immediately cuts Guppy off. There's definitely no chocolate in there, but Guppy completely ignores Yutaro and escalates his attack. He says, if chatting during work hours is a bother, how about we meet at a nice restaurant in private? It's a clear and disgusting proposition. Misato outright refuses. Guppy, offended, resorts to his old tricks, subtly accusing the cafe of switching to cheaper beans. And here's the climax. Guppy, with tears once again welling in his eyes, says, for society's sake, I must tell the truth. He then makes a sickening offer. If you agree to go on a date with me, I'll pass it off as a misunderstanding. He is blatantly using Garden as a tool for blackmail and harassment. The camera zooms in on Misato's terrified face, and in the final panel, we see Guppy's eye, filled with lust and twisted smugness, showing just how dark this war has become. The tension reaches its peak. Yutaro finally loses his patience. He grabs Guppy's shoulder and says, how is that being an adult? Quit acting so lame. But Guppy isn't going to let that slide. With a dramatic, trembling voice, he screams, my arm. It's broken. He's manipulating the situation, making his live stream audience believe he is the victim of an attack by a rude cafe waiter. Yutaro is shocked and furious. I barely even touched you, he yells. But it's too late. Guppy's phone screen is immediately filled with comments accusing Yutaro of assault. The waiter assaulted him, one comment reads. What a nasty cafe. Yutaro's boss looks terrified, but Guppy, with a triumphant smirk, points at Yutaro and says, it's clear to me now just how rotten this garden thing is. Guppy then reveals a shocking detail. Articles of adulthood. Guppy, now completely smug, taunts Yutaro. Are you stupid? He says. Your status as an adult is purely up to Garden. But Yutaro stands his ground. He looks Guppy straight in the eye and says with a loud voice, I'll decide on my own. What makes a true adult? A truly bold declaration. Yutaro then turns to Misato and says, sorry, Misato. I quit. He's giving up the job he got through the system he despises, choosing his ideals over his livelihood. Guppy, still in his act, scoffs at Yutaro. You little jerk. Let's take this outside. And here, finally, we see Yutaro unleash all his pin-up fury. Outside the cafe, Yutaro, now free from his boss's orders and the confines of his job, delivers a powerful punch directly to Guppy's face. The dramatic text on the final panel reads, a fist of fury unleashed. Yutaro finally takes a stand, fighting back against the oppressive system in the most fundamental and brutal way. After Yutaro's righteous punch, we're immediately thrown into the cold, harsh consequences of his actions. We see Yutaro's bruised and battered legs, the text box above him reading, I'm so out of shape. After 15 years of sleep. The sterile, desolate setting of what appears to be a police holding cell makes it clear. Yutaro's moment of defiance has landed him in serious trouble with the authorities. The story picks up right inside the holding cell. The narrator dramatically announces, Yutaro is suddenly arrested. Yutaro sits alone, a look of weary acceptance on his face. He mutters to himself, locked up for fighting again. I haven't grown up at all. This line is a powerful callback to his past, suggesting a history of violence and a feeling that he's a failure in a world he no longer recognizes. This new chapter, ominously titled Old Men Everywhere, seems to be a new challenge entirely. A sinister-looking police officer appears, looming over Yutaro. He sneers. It takes a truly rotten person to cause a scene in broad daylight. The officer then warns him, Garden won't tolerate scum like you. He threatens to send Yutaro to an adult re-education camp, where he'll have plenty of time to regret his actions. This is the first time we hear about this chilling form of punishment, revealing the dark side of this so-called utopian society. The officer explains that the re-education camp is meant to teach people how to be a proper adult. But with a haunted look, he admits he's never seen anyone who's come back from one. The implication is terrifying. Yet, Yutaro remains defiant. He looks up at the officer and says, "Violence is wrong, no matter the reason, but I don't regret my actions." He makes it clear he will face whatever comes next with his head held high. The officer is absolutely livid at Yutaro's refusal to show remorse. "How dare a loser like you talk about being an adult," he shouts. But suddenly, his tirade is cut short. Two other officers look down at a phone in complete shock. "Is that Garden?" one of them asks, hinting that something on the platform has just changed everything. In a stunning turn of events, the police officers suddenly change their tune. With wide smiles, they tell Yutaro, "You can go." They add that he did just what an adult should do. This is a complete and baffling reversal. It's clear that some unknown force has intervened on Yutaro's behalf, and the police are powerless to resist. Released from custody, Yutaro walks through the city, still reeling from what just happened. He replays the officer's words in his head. They mention Garden, and then he regrets not having a smartphone to see what's happening on the platform. As he walks, he decides to go back and apologize to the cafe for the trouble he caused. But just then, a mysterious man appears behind him and says, "You're Yutaro Urashima, right?" The mysterious man is a journalist named Shinobu Inukai. He hands Yutaro his business card, explaining that with Garden, no one needs an ID anymore. Yutaro is instantly suspicious and asks, "Who are you, old man?" But Inukai's card is now all the identification he needs. Inukai then reveals that he's the one who sprung you from that cell. Inukai explains his motive. He says that after Yutaro punched Guppy, the public on Garden obviously saw you as the villain. But Inukai knows that most people blindly assume the upper tier are in the right. So, he decided to take matters into his own hands. Inukai shows Yutaro an online article he published. The headline is explosive, "True Garbage." Streamer Guppy uses his fame for sexual harassment. The article details Guppy's history of stalking female staff at other restaurants. Thanks to this piece, Yutaro's public image has been completely flipped. He's no longer a brutal cafe staff, but a hero who saved a damsel in distress. The war between the adults has just begun, and Yutaro is now at the center of it, with a new and mysterious ally. After Yutaro's sudden outburst and punch, the situation takes an immediate, dramatic turn. The camera now focuses on a furious Guppy, who's not just angry, he's putting on a show. "My arm. It's broken," he screams, clutching his limb and collapsing dramatically. Yutaro looks on in shock, while a sound effect marks the over-the-top performance. The comments on Guppy's livestream are now blowing up, painting Yutaro as the villain who attacked an innocent streamer. Yutaro is left in disbelief. "I barely even touched you," he says, but his words are drowned out by the flood of comments calling him an aggressor. Guppy, with a triumphant and knowing smirk, stares directly at Yutaro, revealing the horrifying truth. Yutaro's rebellion has only given Guppy more power. Guppy brings up a key part of Yutaro's past, his articles of adulthood. This is a complete game-changer. Guppy openly mocks Yutaro, saying his status as an adult is meaningless since it's purely up to Garden. But Yutaro isn't broken. He looks Guppy in the eye and declares, "I'll decide on my own. What makes a true adult?" In a moment of pure conviction, Yutaro turns to his boss and Misato and states, "I quit." He has chosen to abandon the system entirely rather than compromise his values, even if it means losing his job and his fragile place in this society. Yutaro is now outside, free from the constraints of his job, and Guppy is still taunting him. "You little jerk. Let's take this outside," he says, But it's Yutaro who makes the first move. He delivers a devastating punch directly to Guppy's face. The panel is explosive, a release of all of Yutaro's pent-up frustration and rage. The final text box says, "A fist of fury unleashed," marking a complete break from the passive, manipulated life he's been living. The immediate fallout is severe. Yutaro is now in what looks like a prison cell or a re-education facility. The narration notes his out-of-shape body after his 15-year sleep, highlighting his vulnerability in this new world. He's been arrested for fighting again, and he feels a sense of self-disappointment, thinking he hasn't grown up at all. This scene marks the start of a new chapter, ominously titled "Old Men Everywhere." A stern police officer confronts Yutaro, calling him a dirtbag and warning him that Garden won't tolerate his behavior. He threatens to send Yutaro to an adult re-education camp, where he will have plenty of time to regret his actions. This terrifying new layer of the Garden system is revealed, a place of supposed discipline with a sinister undertone. The police officer explains the re-education camp is a place to teach people to be proper adults, but he admits he's never met anyone who returned from one. Yutaro, despite the grim reality, remains defiant. Violence is wrong, no matter the reason. But I don't regret my actions, he says. He has a newfound resolve and is ready to face whatever punishment awaits him. The officer, furious at Yutaro's defiance, calls him a loser for trying to act like an adult. But his angry rant is interrupted. Two other officers are looking at a phone in disbelief, their eyes wide. "Is that Garden?" one of them asks. Something is happening on the social media platform that is about to change Yutaro's fate entirely. In a truly shocking reversal, the officers tell Yutaro that he's free to go. They even give him a smile and a thumbs up, saying, "You did just what an adult should do." The abrupt change in their demeanor suggests that a powerful force from the outside has intervened, and whatever happened on Garden was significant enough to override the law. Yutaro, bewildered, is left to wonder what in the world just happened. Yutaro is still in shock, staring at Inukai in disbelief. He asks, "So you're the one who found all that?" Inukai simply gives a casual nod, revealing Guppy's full name, Guppy Agami. Inukai confirms he was the source of the article that tanked Guppy's career, but he clarifies that he wasn't alone. This shows Yutaro that Inukai is part of a much larger and more powerful network than he ever imagined. The conversation suddenly turns dead serious. Inukai's eyes bore into Yutaro's as he reveals his true intentions. "I didn't publish that article to expose his crimes," he says. "I did it to start a war." This is a stunning reveal. Inukai wants to shake the fake peace of the Garden Society to its core. He sees himself as a soldier in this war, and Yutaro, by his actions, has just become one as well. Inukai continues to lay out his plan. He explains that his army is made of people who are unhappy with society and have been silenced by Garden. He calls them the ghosts of this perfect system. Inukai looks at Yutaro and tells him he wants Yutaro to be his new weapon to expose the hypocrisy of Garden. It's a dangerous offer of an alliance, but Yutaro is the only one who has the power to truly fight back. As Yutaro considers the offer, he suddenly says, "There are plenty of people like me, but not people who have slept for 15 years. The revelation takes Inukai completely by surprise. "What do you mean by that?" he asks. Yutaro looks at Inukai with a serious expression, ready to reveal his secret. This cliffhanger leaves us wondering, could Yutaro's past be the ultimate weapon in the war against Garden? We see Yutaro and Inukai entering a towering skyscraper, with Yutaro looking nervous and out of place. The narrator explains that this is Yutaro's first real job in this new world, and he has a powerful ally by his side. The atmosphere is tense and dramatic, marking the start of their dangerous mission. Inukai hands Yutaro something crucial, a high-tech smartphone. He tells him to get used to it, as Yutaro's outdated behavior and clothing will make them stand out. Inukai also gives him new clothes and a wallet, signaling a transformation. Yutaro now has not only the knowledge of the old world, but also the tools he needs to fight in the new one. Yutaro is amazed by the new phone. He looks at his own Garden profile, which now displays him as a hero with an extremely high rating. The comments that used to mock him now praise him, with one saying, "He rescued the kitten," This is the first time Yutaro witnesses firsthand the power of Inukai's manipulation, the terrifying ability of social media to change a narrative in an instant. Inukai explains their next move. They will investigate Guppy's network and find out who gave him his high status on Garden. Inukai refers to them as the dirty adults who secretly control the system from behind the scenes. He emphasizes that their mission is a war that they have to win. Yutaro and Inukai enter the lobby of a luxurious office building. The contrast with the small cafe where Yutaro used to work is striking. Yutaro is overwhelmed, but Inukai remains calm and focused. They are now at the heart of power, ready to infiltrate the enemy's den. Inside the building, Inukai introduces Yutaro to a woman in a high-tech office. The woman is Sae Misaki, a former police officer who was fired for not being adult enough. Inukai says Misaki is their ally and will give them the information they need. With a professional demeanor, Misaki shows them the complex network behind Guppy's influence. She projects a diagram on a large screen, detailing the connections between various upper-tier adults and the kittens they sponsor. She reveals that Guppy's status was purchased by a very powerful individual. Misaki points to a photo on the screen, a man named Kaname Asou, a powerful figure in the tech world. He is Guppy's owner, Misaki explains. Asou uses people like Guppy to manipulate public opinion and control the system, building an empire on lies. Misaki reveals that Asou is about to launch a new, major project that will expand Garden's influence to an even higher level. She says they have a chance to expose his crimes before he becomes too powerful to defeat. This gives their mission a thrilling sense of urgency. The final panel shows Yutaro and Inukai staring at a new target on the screen, Asou's massive company building. Inukai gives Yutaro a final warning. This is the real fight, and they are going to win it. The new chapter has begun, with Yutaro and Inukai ready to face an enemy far more powerful than anything they've ever imagined. The story takes us back in time, into the mind of the antagonist, Kaname Asou. As a young man, Asou speaks with a cold and cynical tone about humanity. He says, people are slaves to their own desires. He believes that humans will always choose the path of least resistance, even if it means sacrificing their freedom. Asou continues his ambitious monologue. He says, I want to create a society where no one has to suffer, where everyone is equally happy. He looks serious, even a little sad, as if his goal is truly for the good of humanity. However, we know this is a terrifying justification for creating the Garden system, a system that looks perfect on the outside but is incredibly cruel on the inside. Back in the present, Yutaro sits in Misaki's office, completely shocked and in disbelief. He yells that Asou's ideology is totally insane. He can't accept that someone would create such a restrictive system for the sake of fake happiness. This highlights the huge gap between Yutaro's values, which prioritize freedom, and Asou's philosophy of control. Inukai explains that Asou's philosophy is the foundation of Garden. He reveals that Asou believes the human brain is flawed and too weak to handle true freedom. The Garden system, therefore, is Asou's way of correcting these flaws and controlling humanity, preventing them from making mistakes that would cause suffering. Yutaro is furious. I'm not weak, he shouts. He refuses to be a part of Asou's system and is determined to prove him wrong. This is a crucial moment for Yutaro. He's no longer just trying to survive. He now has a clear purpose: to prove that humans don't need to be controlled to be true adults. Inukai hands Yutaro a special card, a Garden Pass. He explains that this card will give them access to all of Asou's company services. But he also gives a serious warning. Asou has eyes and ears everywhere, and they need to be extremely careful. The narrative now focuses on the Garden Pass in Yutaro's hand. This card isn't just a tool. It's a symbol of their upcoming battle. The narrator says that Yutaro's naive idealism is about to be tested against the absolute power of Garden. The tension is palpable, building anticipation for what comes next. This chapter ends with Yutaro and Inukai ready to take the next big step. The powerful final panel shows them with determined faces, ready to confront Kaname Asou. The narration concludes by stating that this is just the beginning of their real war. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for the freedom of all humanity.